Hi, it's Lauren. Welcome back to my channel. I'm excited because it's the last day of the month, which means I have some Halloween inspiration. And today we're going to be playing with alcohol inks. So I have chosen 3 colors and I will later bring out black, but I have Honeycomb, which is that orange color, Citrus, which is the green, and Purple Twilight, which is the purple. And I also have my blending solution. I have my little squeezy thing. I forget what it's called, but it reminds me of the nose sucker for babies to get all their boogers out. One of those things. And I left in all of my alcohol playing aroundness because I usually edit out when I'm doing something super repetitive like distressing or coloring or whatever it may be, but I thought maybe I would just share how this card came along. I probably won't do a lot of alcohol blending on screen because it does take a long time to really get what you want. And then of course I'm doing am I putting too much? Am I going to make this super ugly now? This internal voice going back and forth. I knew I wanted to fill up the whole panel and I wanted it to be really colorful. So I know that adding blending solution like helps spread the color out, but it kind of, dilutes it a little bit, right? Because it's the same amount of color with alcohol. So I left this all in. You can definitely skip by using the chapters down below if you're like, oh my god, I'm so over watching you put alcohol ink to Yupo paper. So you can definitely skip all this, but I am just sharing my process because I'm still really learning how to play with this and I could be doing something that's totally counterproductive. So if you're a pro at alcohol inks, I know some of my friends out there are, let me know in the comments if I'm doing something that you think that I should be doing better, if really just adding more blending solution really is the way to go, if my little Amazon squeezy thingy is probably not the best, should I try something else? I do have an airbrush compressor that I got for Christmas that I haven't used yet. I'm so nervous. I don't know why. But I am gonna see maybe if just using the air compressor might help a little bit. I still want to work on airbrushing. I don't know if any of you guys here follow Lisa from Cards and Confetti, I believe is the name of her channel. I will link her down below. But she is amazing when it comes to the airbrush compressor thing. I actually bought the same one that she recommended or that she uses. So I do want to get more messier with alcohol inks, but because it is messy and I am such a type A crafter, like I love clean lines and blendedness, like really blending colors together, I just have had a hard time breaking into my alcohol inks. Just a mental thing. I feel like I'm not, quote, good at it yet, which is silly because this art form is so messy and so like free flowing. It really just depends on how much ink you've laid down, how much blending solution, what you're spraying it with, how much you're spraying with it. There's a lot to it that I don't really know if someone can ever really be an expert, I guess you could say. I mean, I definitely think there's a technique to it and you can become an expert in that, but there's no way you're going to reproduce the same thing over and over again. So I'm trying to be better about just letting the creative juices flow along with that blending solution and just kind of create fun panels. And I knew this was going to be messy. I was a little worried about the citrus and the honeycomb. I was kind of worried I'd get this weird brown color, but honestly, when they blend together on the paper, it looks really good. Plus the sharpness of that black, I think, really helped this background a lot. And then of course, purple, such classic Halloween colors, right? So once I finally get all of the white spots filled in on this piece of paper, I am going to grab some silver foil. So this was from a sampler pack when I got my Gemini Foilpress. So I just grabbed a piece of that. So this is like a heat activated foil and I laid it over the top of my paper before any of my alcohol dried. So this is right when I was finished. I grabbed a paper towel so I didn't get ink all over my hands and pressed down, and I peeled off the foil, and this is my new favorite thing. Can we talk about how beautiful that shine is? I'm obsessed. So definitely giving myself more confidence to bring out that alcohol inks a lot more. So I am using these cute little bats from the Ink Road Stamps Mother's Day 2022 stamp set, and I'm coloring them in with my alcohol markers. I stamped them in Ink on 3's Blackout ink, and then using my Spectrum Noir colors to color them in. Now my bats are going to be the PL purple shades, and then I'm going to color in the nose, cheeks, and the inside of the wings with orange colors and green colors. So I'm using PL3, no, 4. 4 is my darkest, PL3 as my mid-tone, and PL2 as my lightest to really color in my two bats. For the orange, I'm going to use my BOs, and this time I'm only going to use 2 shades because I'm coloring in my tiny little images. Like, they're small. I'm not getting a lot of shadow on the inside of the bat wings and their ears and stuff. So I used BO3 and BO2 to color in the smaller bat. And then I'm going to use my citrus greens. I'm going to use 2 in 1, CG2 and CG1 for the green of my larger bat. And I'm just coloring them in. I picked colors that looked to match my alcohol ink colors as best as possible. So again, that honey color, the citrusy green color, and like a vibrant purple color. And then I will bring out my white gel pen when I'm all done coloring, and I'm going to add accents to those. So I left in a little bit of coloring. I know I normally cut it out because I do a monthly coloring video. I don't find myself to be the an expert colorist, but I enjoy coloring. So if you want to check out more of my coloring videos, I do a monthly video where I just color and I have coloring guides. I just kind of talk about what's new and what's going on. I call them my color and chat videos, so I'll link that playlist down below if you're interested. So anyway, I finished up coloring my bats, again adding some white gel pen to add some highlights, and now we can start putting our cards together. So I'm only going to build one here on camera. The other one I do kind of in the background while I'm going along. And my Yupo paper was 5 by 7, so I cut them down to be 5 by 3.5, which, as you know, geometry wise, doesn't really fit totally center on an A2 card. I'm going to play around here trying to figure out how I want to really lay out this card. I knew I wanted to use some black cardstock, and I had some extras of these triangle scraps in my little scrap stash box. So I'm just trying to see if I can use these together, going back and forth, trying to figure out how I'm going to use my sentiment. And I finally decide that I'm just going to stamp my sentiment on this triangle. I'm going to use the Spooky Halloween sentiment. This is also from Ink Road Stamps from the Halloween 2022 stamp set. I'm going to do some embossing because it is on black paper. So I'm grabbing my anti-static powder tool, my VersaMark, and then I'm going to use Chrome from Ink on 3. It's an ultra fine embossing powder in a very beautiful silver, so it will match that silver foil that I have on my alcohol background. So once I get all of that stamped down and I get the powder on there, I'm going to heat up my heat gun and melt that embossing powder down. It's basically like little plastic particles that when heated up, they meld together and stick to your paper. Once that is cooled down, I'm just grabbing a Swiffer cloth and wiping off that excess anti-static powder. So here's when I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to cut my card. It doesn't have to be A2. It'll still fit in an envelope and be just fine. So I'm going to grab my paper trimmer and I'm going to trim my card so that it has an even border. Again, it's that type A-ness around my pretty alcohol background. So just trimming off a 1/2 inch. So that way it will be 3 3/4 by 5.5, which will fit nicely around, oh no, did I cut off 1/4? Maybe it was a 1/4. I'm doing math in my head. You know what? I cut off a 1/4. It's 4 by 5.5 because that would give me 3.5 by 5. I'm doing math really slowly in my head right now. It's kind of sad that I have an engineering degree and I needed to really think that through. But anyway, it's a little bit smaller than an A2. And then I'm also going to trim my sentiment triangle. I'm going to cut off so that way it just fits nicely in the corner of this black cardstock. I don't really have an exact dimension for you, but it just, sits nicely there on the bottom right hand corner. And I'm going to pop this up with my scrapbook.com foam adhesive strips. These are really thin, 1/8 of an inch wide, and it's not an overly thick piece of adhesive, so I covered the back of my triangle and then I adhered that to fit nicely inside that lower right hand corner of the alcohol background. And then I'm going to add that same foam adhesive behind my little bats, and they're going to slightly overlap onto the black cardstock, but really be these pretty little purple cute critters on top of that alcohol background. So once I have that glued down, I'm going to repeat that same process on my other card off camera, but I did need to add a little bit of bling, so I went through my sparkle blend mixes and I found a really cute Halloween mix called Vampire Bat, and I'm going to just add some sequins to this card. Well, to both cards, but again, I'm only doing one on camera. So I'm going to pour out my Vampire Bat sparkle blends into my little container and just pick a bunch of different sequins. These have really pretty purple and black sequins and kind of like an iridescent purple sequins as well. So I just glued 5 on. I have 3 in the top left hand corner and 2 on the bottom right with my sentiment. And here is a final look at that card. I absolutely love that shimmer of the silver on the alcohol background and then the pop of shine from the sparkle blends and the sentiment as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!